This week, the Jewish holiday of Passover is on the horizon, with the first seder celebrating the Exodus from Egypt happening on the evening of April 8th. And this year, with the pandemic, more people will be celebrating on their own than ever before. So I spoke with Adam Schwartz, who is helping Minnesotans make that transition happen. I'm Lev Gringaus, and welcome to The Jews Are Tired, your podcast about Jewish news. So Adam Schwartz is the founder of a group in the Twin Cities called Heritage Judaica, which collects ritual objects like Kiddush cups, religious books, and Shabbat candlesticks, and donates them for free to people who want to use them. And this is a great community initiative at any time of the year, but with Passover coming up, there's a particularly poignant need for this kind of work. Normally, for Passover seders, some people or families will host the seder, and then, of course, there are guests that come over. But with the COVID-19 pandemic, widespread social distancing to cut down on the spread of the virus, and now an executive stay-at-home order in Minnesota from Governor Tim Schwartz, there can be no guests. And some people who would celebrate Passover by attending seders are now in the position of having to do the seder at home on their own. And of course, as Schwartz points out in this interview, you don't need ritual Jewish objects, cups, plates, and so on to have a meaningful Jewish holiday. But Judaica is still really important for a lot of people, so doing Passover at home means a want for things like seder plates, matzah covers, and Haggadot, the books that guide the doing of the seder. So, Heritage Judaica, in partnership with Twin Cities, a program of the Minneapolis and St. Paul Jewish Federations, is running a Seder plate drive specifically to get Passover Judaica to people who need it. So, I hope you enjoy this conversation with Adam Schwartz all about that, which has been edited for clarity. So let's just jump right in. So for those who may not know or be familiar with Heritage Judaica-Twin Cities, can you just give like a brief rundown on, what it is and how it started and your role in all of it?
Absolutely. So we've been an organization for around a year and a half to 2 years. And we began because my wife's grandma was unhappy that no one wanted for Kiddush cups in the family, and anyone in the family who wanted Kiddush cups already had them. And so this nice lady was distressed, thinking that when she died, they would be thrown out or given to Goodwill. And then I figured there's probably, some friends of mine who are either Jews by choice or people who don't have nice Kiddush cups. And I thought, well, I bet there's other people who have extra items they don't know what to do with or want them to go to a good home. And then I bet there's lots of people in the Jewish community who, well, of course, Judaica is not necessary to have a Jewish life, but there's a lot of people out there who could really use stuff to help them to enhance their Jewish activities. So I started connecting people and soliciting donations of Judaica and telling people I had stuff that I would give out. And since then, we've given out, in the Twin Cities alone, we've given out a little over 3,000 items.
Wow. So then tell me how the Seder plate drive you're now doing, and how your work sort of overall is factoring into this moment with the pandemic going on and most people confined to their homes.
So Seder plates were always one of the most popular items that we would give away. The big categories of items that people requested were life cycle based, maybe not life cycle based, or Shabbos based or holiday based. So they would be things like menorahs, Seder plates for the holidays. For Shabbat, it would be the standard Kiddush cup, candlesticks, challah cover, and then probably after that would be mezuzahs. So I always knew that these were a popular item. And then my wife and I were going to be hosting a seder with, probably around 20 people. And of course, we also go to seders, which was, 15 to 40 people. And then once we saw how widespread this experience was going to be, we realized that there's going to be a large call for seder plates for individual seders, since, of course, people who can't gather for one might still be inclined to host one of their own, with just one or two people who live under the same roof. And while there's been an incredible outpouring of virtual seders that will be happening, we also wanted to do our part to say that if you were going to a virtual seder and you wanted to follow follow along. And then you wanted to have this tangible symbol of Judaism in front of you. I wanted to do my best to make sure that my organization could provide this experience to people.
So then also, even though it's called the Seder Plate Drive, you're not only giving out Seder plates in terms of, what people are asking for Passover, right? Or what are you seeing in terms of demand, I guess?
So we just went live yesterday, and so far we've given out 7 Seder plates. No one has taken up a matzah plate or a matzah cover, but we've given out, I think so far, 18 haggadahs and 1 egg-shaped saltwater fancy cup. Sometimes we get one off of unusual Judaica, and so I put it out with the other Passover stuff, and it went pretty fast.
So then, I know you said you went live yesterday, and you haven't really had, a lot of time of doing this yet. But can you give sort of a day in the life of the Seder Plate Drive? Of are you having regular people come to you and then give the Judaica, and then there's sort of an exchange that happens later with the people who come to try and get it? What does that look like?
Now, as a caveat, this may change as restrictions grow stricter, but I'm making people make appointments with me on email with heritagejudaica@gmail.com, and I'm only accepting one person per appointment to try to minimize the risk of things, and I have them stand off in the driveway behind my home, and then I, one at a time, show them all the Seder plates, and they don't get to touch anything. And once they pick one, I take it and dunk it in a bleach solution, and then walk, to a different point on the property, put the Seder plate there, that's been just sanitized, while holding it in a towel, so my germs aren't on it, and then walk off, and then they can come and retrieve it. So we only have one person at a time to avoid cross-pollination, and they and I always keep a distance as well as them and the Judaica.
And are you having, drop-offs as well, or do you already have enough Passover Judaica that it's just a matter of people coming and getting it if they need it?
We've had some drop-offs, and in that case, the stuff gets sanitized before it gets put into the pile. We're trying to do what we can to get Judaica to people, but at the same time, no Judaica is worth getting an unpleasant illness.
So I guess, let's backtrack a moment. Was this something that, you talked a little bit about this, but I'm wondering if you can explain more. Was this something that people were reaching out to you and saying, hey, we're doing Passover at home because we have to, do you have something you can provide to us? And that grew into the larger project? Or was this something you thought, hey, this is the need we should be providing? How can you explain more how this idea was synthesized?
We had 2 events that were canceled due to COVID-19. We were opening the grand opening of the Heritage Judaica Library, and then the St. Paul JCC was going to host just a standard giveaway, but I was, of course, going to bring more Passover items to that one. So already in the back of my mind, I knew that, of course, Passover's coming up, and I knew that Seder plates would be a big deal. So when I had to cancel those 2 events, I knew I wanted to do something, especially as my own Seder was getting canceled, to assist with the need for the community. So no one came to me and was like, can you help with this? And then, of course, I put something on the Heritage Judaica-Twin Cities Facebook page, and then in close consultation with Emma Dunn and Giti at Yala, the Federation. And they've been, of course, incredibly helpful for this project.
Right. And all of this is, you might have mentioned this, but all of this is free.
Absolutely. Yeah, everything that Heritage Judaica does is free. We want to make getting Judaica to people as easy as possible, and we don't want finances to be any burden.
So then before I get to my last question, which is a little bit more broad, is there any, part of the drive or the work that you're doing right now that you feel I haven't brought up or anything I'm missing? Anything else you would like to say in terms of what's going on?
I would just like to reiterate to all of the listeners out here that you don't need Judaica to have a Jewish life, to do Jewish activities, or to be Jewish, and that it's more of how you act in life than what you choose to do. So Passover will happen whether we celebrate seders or not, and as long as we, whatever the appropriate meaning is, in my opinion, the mitzvahs will be fulfilled.
So then, my last question to leave off, I'm wondering if you, can give some thoughts, if you're okay with doing so, on sort of the broader context on what it means to be doing this kind of work and caring for our community in the middle of a pandemic. Because I feel like everything, in terms of Jewish life that's happening right now, we know Passover's coming up. That's sort of the same as it was the year before and the year before that. But the way that we're doing everything seems so different now. So how, do you have any sort of reflection on the work that you're having to do and how you're having to do it?
So I have a doctorate in public health, which has given me, I think, a little different perspective than some seeing this pandemic happen around us. And I feel like the Jewish community is really doing an incredible job of pivoting to deal with this. So many people are in the normal course of action, not engaged in the Jewish community. And a lot of that is why Heritage Judaica does what it does in terms of trying to be welcoming to all, and really, whenever there's a chance to do so, putting aside restrictions so that people feel like they are included. And so much of the current state Jewish world's activities going online and having things be more inclusive have really, I think, changed the Jewish community in ways that we will not be able to come back from in a good way. So many people, whether they have disabilities and cannot come in physically, or they have very busy working lives, or the only way they can join the community is asynchronously. The way we're doing things now, plus, of course, all of the creative innovations which have come up, all this new programming from the Jewish community that's come up because of our current constraints, this will paradoxically, I really believe, allow us to grow and change in good ways.
Thank you. So, Adam Schwartz, that's all I have, but thanks so much for taking time out of your day to talk with me.
I appreciate you reaching out.
This has been this week's The Jews Are Tired podcast. I'm Lev Gringaus. Don't forget to subscribe and share, and hopefully next week the Jews will get some rest. The Jews Are Tired is a product of Jewfolk Inc. For more information, go to tcjewfolk.com or email the show at podcast@tcjewfolk.com.